All right, so you're a busy executive, leading executive teams. You're busy executing your strategic plan, immersed in the daily operational activities and execution, and focusing on performance. How do you know when it's time for an executive offsite? In this video, we'll explore 10 signs that might be indicators for you needing an executive offsite. Number one, you've never had one. If you've never had one and you're leading an executive team, that's a pretty good sign you need one, right? Number two, you had one and it maybe fell a little bit short of what you expected or actually had hoped for, and maybe wasn't the highest and best use of your time or energy. Number three, you have new members on the team. So as an executive team, you're either adding to it or maybe subtracting and putting new people in place.
Number four, you're overwhelmed with the day-to-day tactical. You're in firefighting mode, and it's so hard to extricate yourself from this, to think strategically, let alone think about the foundation to form a cohesive team that comes together under pressure rather than pulling apart. Number five, your team is actually splintering or fragmenting. There are factions that are being kind of created. There is more of a sense of conflict, even despite your best efforts at getting people to work things out together. And there's a lot of noise on the team where there's judgment over curiosity or generosity of interpretation of behaviors. Number six, your team relates to the word silo, and you hear things like, well, I'll stay to my swim lane, that's your swim lane, and there's very little cross-functional collaboration going on in the day-to-day.
Number seven, your business environment has changed dramatically, and you're at a critical point in the success of the business. Number eight, your team is flat out underperforming. In spite of best effort and lots of energy, they're underperforming. Number nine, you have gaps in communication. Despite having frequent meetings, maybe even meeting socially, you didn't quite have the communication cohesion that you need.
Number 10, your leadership team meetings, if you're honest, are lackluster. They're not inspiring. They're even somewhat draining. And they're certainly not generative for generating new ideas, expansive approaches, or experimentation or innovation. We see executive offsites as not only meeting the needs of any of those top 10 reasons, because you might have more than one of those top 10 that we just articulated, but executive offsites are also a critical component in a whole balanced approach to a broader system of excellence that you can establish within your organization. When they're designed and facilitated well, they can lead to quantum leaps forward, not only in your team for greater team cohesion, but for performance and shaping the culture around. We hope that this has been helpful for you to determine if it's time for your team to have an executive offsite.